I've been collecting the seeds off of this tree. It's 100 years old. It's a very large example of a cut-leaf Japanese maple. It came from Yokohama nurseries. And we haven't actually propagated it, and I think this might be a good opportunity to do so. It doesn't necessarily mean we're going to get exactly the same plant, because seeds don't always do that, but we could certainly have something very interesting. Autumn is now upon us, and I find it's actually a more ephemeral season than spring. The colors are absolutely beautiful, but it's very hard to plan when they're going to turn, when they're going to be at their best. And all it takes is one night of rain and wind, and it's gone for another season. Right now in the Japanese garden, the maples are starting to color up, and maples are among the best plants if you want good autumn color. We have reds and yellows. The plant behind me is a very good example of a purple-leafed maple, but it still turns a reddish color. The colors that trees turn, they don't actually turn that. What it is, it's an absence of chlorophyll. In the autumn, especially when it gets cold, it's a signal to the plant. They start breaking down reserves in the leaves and sending it back down into the roots. And so as the chlorophyll breaks up and goes away, the colors that were in that leaf anyway start to show up. So really it's not that they're turning, it's that they're being shown to have those colors. Maples are sort of revered in Japan, and in fact they have like maple viewing parties like they would have cherry blossom viewing parties. They've been selected over the years for their ability to turn different colors. So I mean, red is prized, but also bright yellow. And the ones here, which most of would have come from Yokohama nurseries, I think 100 years ago, but we now have seedlings of some of those, and they all turn their own special color. I have to say I do really look forward to the autumn just because of those brilliant colors. And when you get that low light coming in, and it's incandescent. You can't really reproduce that, and it's so hard. You can plan for it, but you never really know each year whether you're going to get it. You can actually plan spring flowers much more readily than you can plan the autumn colors, and maybe that's why I find it so attractive, that it's something that you hope for the best, and you don't always get it, but when you do, it's absolutely fantastic, and it can be in here. I would say the Japanese garden is one of the really lovely places to come in the autumn. The maples really are, I would say, the high point of the Japanese gardens. I like them even better than the cherry blossom, I think, in the spring. And maybe because it doesn't last as long, so you have to be really lucky to see it at its height. I find the older I get, the more I appreciate deciduous plants. I used to really like evergreen and everything. I always wanted evergreen for everything. But now I actually really like deciduous plants, especially if you get good color or the shape of the tree is really good. Because I think it's that change. So there's always something different. So you're always looking forward to the leaves coming out, and then you look forward to when the leaves come off, they turn that lovely color, and then you've got the gorgeous shape of the branches. And sometimes it's melancholy as well, but I think you can't have joy all the time, and you can't have melancholy all the time. And I think the garden really shows that it goes through that cycle of life every year, but it always comes back. This is it's kind of part of the ancient fruits of rural roads. It's a Meddler, and a Meddler originally came from Persia, as it was called when the Romans brought it to England. And you'll still find it in England in the hedgerows and what have you. It looks like a rose hip on steroids, and in fact it is a member of the rose family. It gets white flowers in the spring, and then they turn into these sort of large hip-like fruits. And the trick with these is you let them sit on the tree till you get a couple frosts, and then you pick them and you let them, what they call in England, blet, which is a fancy word for rot. So you just line them out on a piece of paper or whatever, let them go soft and brown, and that's when you eat them. And it's never going to make, a big splash in the supermarket, shall we say, and the seeds are quite big, but the flavor's quite good. And it also makes a very nice jelly. So it's one of these old historic fruits that you don't see much, but it would be a pity to lose it, and it's also a very attractive small tree. This is a quince, and it's another installment of our ancient fruits of rural roads. The quince has been around for millennia, and in fact the Greek legend of, I think, Atlanta, that was beat in a race because she stopped to pick up the golden apples that were rolled in front of her, they could easily have been quinces. There's also some people were claiming that this was the apple that Eve picked in the Garden of Eden, but I don't think so, because this would not tempt anybody to eat it raw. It's very, very hard and it's very, very sour. But once you cook it, it completely changes character and it turns a lovely rosy pink, and there's a beautiful fragrance to it right now. Even if you had a bowl of these sitting in your dining room, that would it would perfume the house. All recipes start with it of rubbing off the fuzz, and I don't know if you can see, they are covered with this fuzz that you can easily rub off with your fingers. And then also the seeds are very rich in pectin, so it sets as a jelly very, very readily. So it's becoming more popular now. You don't see it in supermarkets, but I would say at farmers markets you'd be able to find it. And if you wanted to put a tree in your garden, it's a lovely small tree. It has beautiful flowers in the spring, sort of pale pink, and you can't beat the look of the tree right now. By the end of November, most of the leaves will be down. We'll be into sort of the stark greyness of winter, where you can see the structure of the garden, the trees that are standing there with their bare limbs. In a way, it's a more maybe authentic time in the garden. The true test of a garden, is it beautiful in the winter? And I think this garden definitely passes that test. The structure, when you look around, and that's just not architectural structure, but the structure of these trees and the shrubs that make up the garden, I think will stand the test of time, have stood the test of time, and are worth coming to see even on the darkest day. I hope you've enjoyed going through our garden, through the different seasons that we have shown you. I hope you've gotten ideas as well from this garden that you can apply to your own. And we're certainly delighted that you have come and watched these videos. Good luck on your own gardens at home, and we will see you next spring.